Luisa Thiel is based out of Santa Ana, and even though she has extensive experience throughout a lot of different organizations, she currently works as the principal for CannLoans, which provides short-term working capital for merchants in the states where cannabis is legal. So Luisa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's jump right in. So tell me about yourself. How long have you been in the business of cannabis finance?
Well, I've been in the business a little bit over 3 years. I actually come from the healthcare industry, the holistic healthcare industry. And that's why the cannabis plant caught my attention because of all the medicinal. And then I just happened to jump into the business loans for cannabis.
Can you explain a little bit more in depth, or certainly with more expertise than I have, about why it's so difficult for people to get those initial investments for their cannabis businesses?
Well, there are different issues that the industry has, especially when I started 3 years ago. It was like really rare that they could get loans. We're talking about unsecured loans, hard money loans. No banks will take any cannabis, obviously.
Right.
But the problem is that the previous industry, the previous cannabis industry, it was not sophisticated. They didn't keep track of numbers, books. So when they come to us and they say, "Okay, I want a loan," and they didn't have any paperwork.
Right.
They didn't have anything that we could say, "Okay, I know you have a lot of cash, but that will not cut it."
So what would the process be? Let's say I want to start a cannabis business. What would I do to try to seek a loan?
There are different types of loans. There are startup loans. There are equipment financing loans. There are also business loans strictly. And what I recommend, if it's an established company, and I'm going to give you a little trick here. If you come into the industry for the first time, but you have established company, you can get a loan through the established company.
Interesting.
To use it in your cannabis. And the reason is because this is hard money. We don't really care what you do with the money. So if the business that you have is legal, has good financials, you can get a loan through that business.
Now, so sorry to interrupt you. I was just curious how that's going to be affected in terms of legalization, specifically in California next year. Is that going to change things, make it easier, perhaps?
Well, it's definitely have changed. In the 3 years seems like not too long, but in the cannabis industry, 3 years is a long time.
Right.
Things change daily. One day you can do this thing, the next day you can't. So what I'm seeing in the industry right now is more cannabis owners, business owners, are getting more sophisticated and understanding that, yes, they need to have financials. They have to pay their taxes. They have to be compliant with the industry. And it's going to be easier to get loans because they're going to have the backup, the taxes, to do the due diligence to get their loan.
And certainly we're spoiled to be here in California where all of these things are changing so quickly. Do you see this kind of change happening nationally, or do you think that we're kind of in it for the long haul in terms of legalization?
Well, when it comes to the loans and investing, I see it's moving quickly. Since November of last year, when Prop 64 passed, it was in January, the phone did not stop ringing.
Right.
People really want to get into the industry, from big investors to individuals that just want to get their foot in. I'm seeing that moving pretty fast.
So what would be this is what I like to ask folks in the biz, what would be your piece of advice to somebody who's a budding entrepreneur?
If you're getting as a cannabis business owner, and you're getting in the industry, this is one thing right now that I highly advise is compliance is number one. You can have all the money in the world. You can be the most famous person in the world, and you don't comply, you're not going anywhere. So investors are getting very sophisticated, and they really want to make sure that they're investing in the illegal industry. At least they want to be covered that they're in compliance, that the business that they're investing in, it's in compliance. Same thing with the entrepreneur. Just keep books, keep records, do your taxes. Taxes is like number one. And when you apply for a loan, that's the number one paperwork you're going to have to show. It's tax return.
So basically, keep your stuff on the level and you have a chance to make it in the cannabis business. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. We love that. So if anybody wants to keep tabs on you and what you do, where can they find you?
Well, right now, basically LinkedIn is when you can find me, and DM me or just write a note. And my phone number and my email is on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate your insight.
You're very welcome.
And we'll see you guys next time on 411-420, where you get the down low on the business of getting high. See you next time.